And we're live. Hello, everybody. I am here with Simone Gers, and we are going to do the 5-1 profile today. And this is a lot of people having this profile. It's about 16%. So we have, of the 12 profiles, we have 6 that are quite a lot of people that have, and we have 6 that are very few people. So last week we were doing the 5-2, which is just 2%, 2.5% of the population. Today we're doing the 5-1. And this is a quite common profile. I have a lot of 5-1s in my life, and now that I understand them, I really like them. Before, I could feel like a little bit overpowered by the 5-1s. So I'm going to start and give you the breakdown of the lines, the 5 and the 1, and we're going to bring in Simone to speak the way that she brings in kind of the soul consciousness of anything, and she's going to speak about the lines with me. And after that, we're going to kind of weave the profile, kind of say how do the 5 and the 1 play together. And we're going to, the last part of the live today, we're going to look at charts, both human design and gene keys, and we're going to see how does the 5-1 work through these charts, and of course tell you a little bit more. And Simone is going to tap in today and see if there's any like soul message that we have for these people that we have that were picked today for the live. So I'm super excited, and I'm just going to start with line 5. So if you watched last week, you have already heard me speak about the 5th line. These are the people that actually have their strength in their throat chakra. It's about voice. It's about leadership. It's about coming to the world with practical solutions that nobody thought of before. So a 5th line can take a very complex thing and actually look at it, simplify it, and come up with solutions or explanations that people actually get. And it's kind of doing it not only for itself, but for the other. It's really that kind of, in Gene Keys, we say that the 5th line is the fixer. What we call the 5th line in human design is the heretic, because the 5th line is not taking anybody else's truth. The throat chakra is actually about feeling into your own truth and speaking that truth in the world. And what happens when you do that is that you can either be loved or you can be hated. And this is the biggest thing with the 5th line, because it lives in this kind of projection field. We could say that if we had a house and all the 6 lines or 6 profiles were living in that house, the 5th line would be in the 2nd floor, inside the window, probably sitting at the computer, and in some way connecting to a lot of people with those universal solutions. But not many people would actually be able to see. You can't like really see inside the window, inside the room, like what's happening. So that's why we have this projection field, that either we put the 5th lines on a pedestal, or if we feel like they did something or said something that doesn't resonate, we kind of feel like, oh no, these are people that are dangerous, because we might say that they are dictatorial. We might say that they are even tyrannical in really the shadow frequency. So you could say it's a kind of leadership here, and it can be in integrity or it can be out of integrity. The 5th line is a mental line. We have physical lines 1 and 2, we have emotional lines 3 and 4, and we have mental lines 5 and 6. So now we're in the mental realm, and this is the biggest downside also. It's kind of it's have 2 sides of the coin, right? Because we have that intelligence and that practicality, but on the other side we have the labyrinths of the mind. So there is an element of possible delusion when the 5th line kind of gets into its own labyrinth and doesn't get out of there. And what we said last week as well is that since there is this power and impact, if the 5th line doesn't allow other people to see its vulnerability, it can really create a lot of misunderstanding and more projections, because people are not going to see your humanness, and then people are going to probably even project more on you. So really, the way to break out of possible misunderstandings or conflicts is to use your vulnerability as power or as strength. Like, use your vulnerability as power instead of like trying to show the world that you're fine and that you have all this impact that you have. But then it's like the human connection can get lost there, and we can feel like you're not really human, and then we can either kind of look up to you for that, or we can be scared. And yeah, I might have something more to say, but I want to bring in Simone and see what comes through for line 5 today.
Let's see what the line 5 wants to share with us today. Let's communicate with line 5. The archetype is soul level consciousness for the purpose purpose of healing and wisdom. Line 5, will you communicate with us? I asked what it would like to share, and it says it would like to share its heart. And it just showed me, moving from the heart space. And he says that if all line 5 leaders move, share, speak, act from their heart, it in a sense eliminates miscommunication. And it's saying that not everyone will be able to hear you. He says, don't mistake what I'm saying. I'm not saying that if you come from your heart, everyone will be able to hear you. But what I am saying is you don't miscommunicate when you come from the integrity of your heart. There are truths in your heart that are unpacked and accessed when your intention is from the heart. And as he said that, he flashed me an image of a leader who was wavering on integrity. And when in this image, these videos that I'm seeing, what he shows me is when you're wavering in integrity and have a choice to make as a leader, when you drop down into your heart, you know the clarity of consciousness that is in your highest good to bring through and the highest good for the people you lead to hear. And he shows me the other, like if that leader tipped the other way, he showed flash the word ego. And he says he won't go as far as corruption, but from the ego, a leader can't hear the people he's leading. And so the corruption is, do you truly want to lead? Or is it really just about you and what you want? Are you leading a tribe of one, or are you leading a group? And he says this corruption can occur because line 5s sometimes waver between wanting to do what they want to do, which is leading a tribe of one, and truly leading a group forward. And the thing is, the line 5 says you can do both. You can lead yourself forward in your life and your choices. And then of course, choosing from the soul of what you want is important, and it's important not to corrupt that. But when you're leading a group, leading from the heart is so important. He says that.
Thank you, Simone.
This makes it easy for you to choose.
Yeah. And I love that this came through today when we're speaking about the 5-1, because it didn't come through for the 5th line last week when we were speaking about the 5-2. It's really with the 5-1. And the first line, it's a good segue in there because the first line is the loner. And it's really that person that, that can be such an amazing anchor for people. But if it's not that, it goes into that loner who says, okay, I'm only going to play if it's a win-win. I'm only going to play if something is in there for me. I want to know that it's safe and that it's stable and that it works. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. So it's kind of like when the 5-1 is relying on that kind of perspective from the first line. The first line is here to be the foundation, is here to lay the foundation, is here to kind of build the house of any project and say, okay, this works. It's here to investigate, to go into the basement and to try so many times so that it can come up from the basement saying, okay, I know that this works. I know that this is safe, and I know that this is worth it, kind of. And it's a very individual. If we were speaking about the fifth line, saying it's kind of like finding those solutions for humanity or finding the solutions for the masses. The first line is really about, it's individual. It's a personal line. So it's going to investigate for its own sake. It's going to like kind of focus into those ideas because it's a personal interest. It's a personal, almost like, can be, obsession is it's a tough word, it's a strong word, but it's almost like if you have a child who is a 5-1 or 1-3, you see that they are going into like focusing something. You're like, why that? But it's something, it's like a seed. There's something inside the first line that knows what it wants to investigate. We call it the creator in Gene Keys, and it is because it's going to go down in the basement, and then one day it comes up from all that investigation. It actually comes up and out in the world with something new, with something that hasn't been shared before, because that's kind of the gestation of like so much investigation. There is a seed that is growing, and then when it's ready, it's going to be shared. But it doesn't care about leading somebody or not. It kind of just cares about knowing that this is my innovation and this is what works. And then in human design, we are calling it investigator. So that's, and really for the first line, what can be the challenge is the believe that we can do it, like it's worth doing it together. It's very much like, okay, if it's not really going to kind of do it with you until it knows that it's worth it. And this, of course, in relationship can be a little bit hard, because when you're a loner and you don't include the other, I would say though, for the 5-1, when we have the first line in the body, it's a little bit more about how the body works and how the mind works. So what I said about the first line is kind of in general. If we go to really see what it looks like when we have it not as the first number, but as the second number, so 5-1, that has to do with the body. So here we have a person that actually needs to be alone as well. Like it needs to be leaving relationship. It needs to be able to think win-win. It's here to not only be kind of that egoistic, to be like, oh, what's in it for me? So that's one part of it. But when it comes to the energy of the body, it needs to have time alone. It needs to have time to kind of like ground in to something. That many times when you are 5-1 and you have so many like mental abilities, you're out in the world and there's so much going on, to really come back into the body and ground and be in solitude, it is very important. And to also feel like you're grounded in this world, like your very purpose is to kind of be grounded and probably also build something with your hands. So to not live your life completely in the head. And this is similar to what we said last week with the 5 and the 2. The 2 needs the flow, the 2 needs the dance. Well, the first line needs the foundation. The first line needs that grounding. And that's why it also can feel so powerful, because it has this mental ability, but it's also somebody who really feels like an anchor, somebody that you know that if you have that as a friend. And that's many times where we are projecting on the 5-1 that they are the savior, because they're going to save us, because they have the investigation, they have the foundation, and they also have this ability to find solutions and fix everything. And that can be a problem, because we put all this responsibility. And the heretic, the fifth line, can say either, okay, I'll do it because I can, and they'll feel bad because they kind of live for others, or they'll do the opposite because they're the heretic and they're not going to go and just do what people say, and they still feel bad. So that's the kind of conflict, misunderstanding, projection that can go on. And then again, come back to your vulnerability, come back to your grounding, come back to your body, come back to what's foundational for you, come back to simplicity. These are all things how like the first line can help ground, balance that fifth line. So now I'm kind of already weaving it all, but I feel I want to bring in Simone to speak about first and foremost the first line, and then maybe also the weaving of the 5 and the 1.
Let's see what the 1 has to say. Oh, when I asked it if it would like to share its wisdom and healing with us, it popped right up and it was like, of course I do. And I felt that sense of self, that knowing within it, just kind of um, joyfully present itself. And the one says, look around you, really look around you and see what you notice. And have you set up your life, your environment, your um, conditions of life, of living, not conditioning, but the way you set up your life. And does that allow you? Do all the structures and patterns in place in your life allow you? The one says the gift that it would like to give people who have designed as ones, the credibility and knowing that choosing and being aware of what you need is foremost. And that includes it's not only time alone. He uses the word preparedness. And he's showing me pictures of preparing the self. And he says, she's asking me. I always tell him myself, she's asking me, what are they preparing for? And the preparedness is, in human words, a taking care of the self. And it's saying to me, tell him the story your friend told you about the environmentalist. And so I have a friend who emailed me a story about this man who was an environmentalist and would go into the deep backcountry to research. And he would do this alone. And the journey, the trek would be a long period of time. So imagine, it's too long to pack in your back everything you're going to need on that journey, right? So the person has these series of camps that he kind of hopscotches to. And so each time he gets there, the camp is fully prepared for his stay. The wood is stacked. The water has been gathered and is waiting. So he arrives at camp and has everything he needs to succeed at that camp. And then before he leaves to go to the next camp, he chops the wood, he gathers the water, he does everything he needs to set up camp so that when he returns on his return trip, everything is there, it's prepared. It's, he's prepared, ready. So just think of this months-long journey into the deep, right? And every stop is fully prepared when you get there so that you have everything you need to flourish at that campsite. And then prepare it all again and then take your next leap. So that's what the one wanted to share with all of us, is that it's really a preparedness for your life and having the time, he's saying, take the time to prepare your space so that when you arrive, you can thrive. It's all set up. He says, this is what I'd like to share with you. I'm like, why is he using the word preparedness? It wasn't coming together for me, but that really does. Yeah.
Thank you, Simone. I'm thinking about, let's see. I'm muting you. I'm thinking about Ashley, who works with us. She's a 5-1, and we are having projects now where we're like really kind of laying out a big project, and she has been telling us like we need a foundation. Like I cannot go along if I don't know the foundation. And for me and Simone, we're 4/6s. We are kind of more like in the vision of what it's going to be, and like with a heart just creating, like we're doing here with you guys tonight. But it's been really good to also have that 5-1 energy. It says we need to prepare. I need to see the red thread. I cannot just like do things with my heart and not see that there is a red thread. It has to make sense for me. And it's so beautiful because in a team, we can see that. We need all the profiles, we need all the lines, and we can learn so much. And that's what I'm saying. I have felt sometimes like a little bit like not overpowered, but I see the power in the 5-1. And I feel like we're so different, so I can't even like, but the more I understand them, like I have so many 5-1s in my life, and I really appreciate, because the 6th line that I have and Simone have and the 5th line are both mental lines. So there is something beautiful to be able to kind of also use that ability to see the big picture and to zoom in, and then with the 5-1 you can zoom deep, and with the 6th line you can zoom far away. I don't know, I'm kind of getting out of topic, but yeah, I just want to, there's something that I think that the 5th line is almost, I don't know, there's something with the 5-1 profile that is so powerful, and that it's so powerful in the shadow and so powerful in the gift. And I feel like also what you were bringing through, Simone, shows us like both sides, and shows us how to make sure that you can succeed through your imprint. I feel like what you just said really lays the ground for that, and that's what the 1st line wants to.
I'm kind of blown away. When I'm channeling and I'm listening so intently to the soul of whatever's speaking to me, or often it's speaking and giving me pictures and downloads, and I'm feeling it in my body. So I'm so intent. My goal is to listen so clearly that I'm not thinking about what we're doing. I'm just thinking about that moment of the message, right? So I totally didn't, like when you pull the picture together of what the 5 was saying to the 1, and how special that was. And then to hear the 1 talk about preparedness, it really helps me understand the 5-1s in my life so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Just to have more compassion for them when they're so intent on needing that preparation, before moving on to the next step. What a beautiful metaphor the 1 brought through for all of us.
I actually want to bring up a comment, because we have Amanda here, and she's been commenting, and she's a 4-1. So she says, my personal experience with the 5-1 as a 4-1 was that we were both building foundation. But I know even though we are not in each other's lives, I can always hand the mic and she will have my back. So there is something with that foundation. Like it's not the same. The 4-line expression, the 5th line expression in the world are different, but they both rely on that foundation, on that knowing that you're there. Maybe we express each other, like we express life in a different way, but we have that 1st line where it's kind of safe, So it's, yeah, I love that. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, really, the 4 line, moving from the heart. I need you to have my back. Here's the mic. And the 5 line being that leader who has the voice, the capacity to just take the mic. He's prepared, or she's prepared. The 5-1 is prepared, so of course they can take the mic if they're prepared and ready to lead forward. What a beautiful analogy! I love that.
Yeah, I love that. So I feel like if you guys are on and you have questions, of course, write them in the comments, and we actually have them. We can bring them up like we just did. And I think we're just going to go into the charts. It was kind of hard to pick. We did pick a little bit randomly, and we're going to just go into it. So I'm going to make sure this is big enough. Okay, and I'm not muted. So here we have Alba, and she's from Sweden, I can see now. And here we have the 5-1. And what I want to say, what I said before, is this challenge of using your vulnerability as strength. So if we would look at this chart in a kind of low frequency, where this power and impact that the 5 land has, when that's like what you drive with, you always drive with the power and impact, it's going to be, probably you're somebody who, I would say there's a strong leadership in you. We see the leadership key here. There's a strong anticipation of what's going to happen. And there is something that you do where you want the world to come into harmony and out of corruption in the 50, line 5. And what I see is that if you drive with just power, there is going to be like almost like that corruption can kind of blow up in front of you. And then it's going to be very chaotic in the 3rd line in your life. And you are going to feel alone. And I see you're born in 55. So maybe you're going to feel like you're long before your time with those like leadership things that you know into the core of the foundation, that that's how we're going to build a new world. But the world is not ready. And you're grounded in this anticipation. It's like it's in your bones. It's in your how you walk the world, that this is how leadership is going to look. This is how the new world going to have to function, because you have this ability as a 5th line to see and to find the solutions. But if you just drive it and push it on the world, it's going to feel really lonely. People might say that you're arrogant. People might say that that's a fantasy. What are you saying? We are only in 1980. That doesn't exist. And then now we're in 2020, and they are like, if they're still around, they are like, oh my God, she was completely right. So that's so much what I feel for you. For when I look at your chart, I look at your attraction. Am I back? Okay, perfect. So with the 32, it's about weeding out the things that are not worth it. And it's about like watering the seeds that are here to grow. And in your relationships, I feel like it's important for you to be able to have playfulness. Because if you are just kind of pushing with your power of your agenda of how the world is going to go, it's going to kind of be, it can be, people can escape you instead of staying around. So it's important for you to have playfulness at the same time as you're saying, okay, I'm going to put my water on this relationship. I'm going to put my water on this plant. And to kind of choose for you is important. And it's also important for you to not blame everybody else for what's wrong in the world. It can be with this 2nd line core wound that you're kind of forgetting even while you're here, and it becomes a little bit more like kind of blaming everybody that's wrong for not understanding where we're going. There's something here where during your life is so important for you to have a relationship where there can be that mirror, where they don't put you on a pedestal and you don't look down on them, and that you can find a way of knowing yourself by looking in the other, even if you feel like you might kind of be far away from each other. There is something that the way that you are getting your message across to the world is by being a storyteller. You're a 5-1. I feel like you're going to be in many different places. And maybe it's not that you're going to go there physically. Maybe now it's online. Maybe now there are different ways. But you are kind of storyteller that go and experience things in different places. And then the way that it really comes out, it's not so much like this. This is not what we do in this world. It's so much more like sharing the stories that you've heard in your life. And through that, instead of doing with a finger like this, like telling the story, and then they talk by themselves. And these stories, when you tell those stories, you are going to remember why you are here. You're going to remember probably in other timelines when you did the same thing. And there's a revelation for people that feel your energy when you are that kind of storyteller, where you also speak to them. The 2nd line is speaking very much like this. We are here. It's not here and here. It's not teacher and student. It's really much more about facing everything and wanting to see that it's not like things are not wrong. And you are here to remember why you are here through different experiences, and you're here to share that with the world. And that is actually how you create harmony. That is how you fix the world, not through kind of power and pushing, but really much more through coming into that more feminine storytelling, and then being very mindful where you put your energy, what relationships, and choose relationship where there is flow and fun more than where there is just kind of like seriousness and fear of failure, is what I would say. And I feel like I don't even really need to look at the human design. I think I'm just going to stay with the gene key for this one. And this is Alba from Sweden, Simone. So I'm going to bring you in and see if there is a soul message for either the 5 line in general or like really for Alba. Let you tune in what wants to come through.
Well, I'm always really honest. So when I asked Alba's soul if it would communicate with us, it said yes and no. And so I'm asking it to only communicate about what it would like to communicate. We're not going to go to the places it doesn't want to go. So, it's really important to note that. The first images that I saw were of water, and the water had a lot of waves. And then the Alba soul says that she's swimming upstream, and the current is rough and hard. And then her soul took her, like she was swimming upstream and it was really hard. And then she placed Alba in her physical vessel on the shore of this river. And her soul says, do you want to get out of the current? Are you tired of swimming upstream? And are you exhausted enough yet? And as I'm feeling Alba on the shore in my own body, and I can feel her breath and the labored breathing in my own vessel. And Alba's soul shows me her looking downstream at what she has swum away from, if you will, or what's behind her. And she takes a long look at that. And then she looks upstream. And it's an interesting image because the minute she looks upstream and her vision lands on a place upstream, it's like in a quantum leap, it's immediately downstream. So there's this connection or perception that when you get there, you're immediately back there. Her soul shows that she can take a different path. She can hike. You don't have to swim upstream. And now I'm in a forest and I'm hiking through this forest, and the things that I'm noticing are the sounds. So when we were at the river, it was like a raging river. Like if you've been to a river where there are rapids and the water is almost a deafening sound. And now that I'm in the forest, it's very still. It's very quiet. The energy is moved from a lot of movement to very stillness. And I can hear the straw underfoot, and I can hear the crickets in the forest and the birds. I can literally hear the flapping of the wings of the birds. And even though the sky is beyond the tops of the very tall trees, whereas when I was at the water, the sky was right there too. The sky is diffused with the top of the trees. I can still see its beauty. It still peeks through. And there's a peace and an ease in Alba's body and in my body as she walks through. And her soul is saying it's a different path, but a path nonetheless. And then it's almost like her soul is making a joke. She's like, you can swim it, you can hike it, you can fly it. And when her soul said you can fly it, she literally took flight into the mythical phoenix. Really looked like mythical phoenix, but the colors, the colors were very a purity of white light with pinks and purples at the tips of the feathers and the wings. And the mythical phoenix's journey is, it's not straight like a jet. It's tasting the energy of the forest. It's kind of taking this kind of weaving pathway. And the best way I can describe it is if we could imagine a peacock with all its feathers flying, with all of its its wing feathers out and its tail feathers, not in a fan, but out, not tight. There's a relaxation in a sense in the way that the phoenix is flying. There's an at-homeness in its body, and the phoenix lands in the top of a tree. And I feel in my body peace at the top of the tree. And at the top of the tree, the phoenix shows me the river, shows me the path we were hiking. And then it shows me and makes in my body the feeling of all three. And it says, it's all in you. Every path is in you. It's simply a matter of what you want to focus on, what you want to investigate. The choice is yours. And, an old-fashioned magnifying glass with the handle and then the ring of glass and the beautiful lens. I find magnifying glasses so beautiful. The phoenix pulls out a magnifying glass and is holding the beautiful magnifying glass in its hand. And it's like, what do you want to look at? What do you want to examine within yourself? It's all there for you. And I feel the peace of that examination, of that looking in. Like suddenly when Alba's looking into her life with a magnifying glass, it's like her blood pressure drops. Her breath finds its coherence that creates balance in her body. And there's a peacefulness to looking within. And the phoenix says, it's not what other people want you to investigate. It's what you want to look at that's important here.
Thank you, Simone. I brought it up a little bit too fast, but I think that's so amazing what you were saying. And when I look at this design that has so much white, so much openness, I can really see how it can be challenging, and how there's so much, when they're white center, you're taking everything from the outside, you feel it. And you can get conditioned in those centers and they can completely drain you. And you can live thinking that the themes of those centers are your life, but it's actually not that. So I guess that, again, coming back to yourself, coming back to the simplicity, coming back to the first line, to the foundation, what works for you, what's important for you, all these things are important to be able to allow whatever is there that's not yours to kind of leave, so that you know what your truth is. That's kind of what I hear in what you're saying also, Simone, which, I mean, this is probably the most powerful interpretation in the live readings that we've had so far, that I kind of feel like the emphasis in a way on what you're saying. How do you feel?
I mean, when I saw you pulling up the chart, I thought, oh my God, there's something really powerful here, because we've done these sessions. You, Ashley, and I have done the human design gene key soul communication sessions, and I'm always just really blown away. The soul just brings it through in a different way, but it's always so tied to the design and the gene keys, and really a beautiful example. I mean, when you brought the chart up, I thought, oh my God, it almost looks like it almost looks like the phoenix I saw flying, all in white with just a little color. So
yeah,
beautiful.
Wow. Okay, and now I know that we have a person who's been looking forward to this, and I'm wondering, I think I'm going to start with her human design. So here we have somebody who's in the conscious leadership community, and who is a 5-1 and who is a little bit into human design, I think, but kind of discovering it. So what do I see here? What do we have here? We have a generator that has a life force, that is here to respond to life, that is here to use energy in a way that is mindful, so that knowing that we have a certain amount of energy every day and we put out coins with everything we do. And at the end of the day, it's okay to feel tired, but it's not okay to feel drained and have given away all the coins and feel like you didn't get anything back. You weren't regenerated. So the important thing for the generator is to use your energy right. And you can see this as a powerful 5-1. There is something here. There's a lot of power in you. And it's the question, are you using your energy right so that you can live that power? I also see that you have the 64 and the 63. These are the last gates or gene keys of the whole thing from 1 to 64. I feel like there's an enormous power and a groundedness in that power. You also have the 9 that has to do with invincibility and the 16 that has to do with versatility. There is something here. Either you could be somebody who is either in inertia in the 9 or a little bit scattered. And then that beautiful power on the red side, on the soul side, would not be like that truth and that light and that imagination would not be shared in the world. On the other hand, if you really come into using your energy right, trusting your intuition, knowing your worth, and knowing that life is here to be felt, and kind of not be afraid to feel, not be afraid to merge, not be afraid for the turbulence. If you are ready to live fully, is what I feel, and to engage your energy in a way so that every day when you go to bed, you feel satisfied because you're like, oh, I lived fully. And it's not about being perfect. It's something important with this chart that I feel. It could be for you that you're kind of in your head and you're not in your body. But as a generator, this is the main center in the middle. And you are an emotional authority. So you want to be in your body, in your sacral, in your groundedness. You want to be you want to see the colors of emotions in your life. You want to feel it in your life. Not necessarily making decisions when you're really happy or really sad, but like just know that life is moving through emotion. It's movement. And then your intuition that is really, really strong. And when you are kind of responding to life in your intuition, in your instinct, that's also going to make you feel like more valued. I feel like it's going to make you be in the right situations where people are kind of going to buy your services or they're going to be friends with you. There's something important here with the 44 and the 26, like with the right people. When you're feeling where you're supposed to be, your message can be shared with the world and you could kind of sell anything. But we need you to be in your body. We need you to not be in your head. We need you to not be speaking somebody else's message in your open throat or going in somebody else's direction with your open G. Here we have love, identity, and direction, and that's open. So it could be easy for you to outsource that on somebody else. Oh, I'm just going to be part of this network because it feels like they have the direction figured out. No, that would not be a good thing. Or, oh, this is, okay, let me read what this is about. Let me just, learn it by heart so I can say it. And everybody in the community or the leadership would say, oh, it's so amazing, because you have this ability to tap into it. But it's important for you that you are a leader and you are here to do what you are here to do. You're a heretic. You're not here to, actually, I don't think that you're here to back up somebody else's leadership. You're here to step into your own leadership. And I'm going to take a quick look at this chart. Yeah, I mean, this is the body again. The 46 is all about you in ecstasy, you in your sacral energy, you saying yes completely to something, you being kind of naked in Hawaii eating mangoes is what Richard Rudd says about this, you taking risks. And I see the same key again. We have the storyteller, the essence of the storyteller again. You are here to live and experience many different things, to feel many different things. And you're here to be actually recognized and valued from those experiences in a way. And when I look again, so when we look back at the 5-1, we see that it's important for you to find the things where you have natural determination, to find the things where you have natural skills and versatility. When you feel inertia or when you feel scattered, I don't think that's the right place for you to be. That's just going to make you feel lonely. It's going to make you feel confused. It's going to make you doubt yourself. So it's so important for you to feel, okay, my energy is naturally going here. I feel determined. I feel good. And when you don't feel good, to not pretend that it's okay, to be vulnerable and say, this doesn't work for me. I feel confused. I feel lonely. I feel like I don't know what string on the guitar I'm playing. I can play so much, but it feels like you guys kind of making me play the tones I don't really like. And then if you do these things and you don't communicate with vulnerability, your life can feel like a lot of unease. This is my core wound, by the way, too. There can be, you're going to feel like an ease and an agitation in the body. And it's saying to you, you're not following your intuition. And it's saying to you that you might feel you might feel like a bit aloof from the world, not completely embodied, because you're not living your design. You're here to use your energy in things that feel natural for you, where you feel that you can be grounded in your truth, grounded in your imagination, and not speaking somebody else's truth or going somebody else's direction. I think that's, I think I said it in many different ways, but that's kind of what's being emphasized for you. And now I would love to hear what Simone has to say.
Let's see what Amber's soul would like to share. Again, Amber soul, when I ask her soul if it would like to communicate with us, it says yes and no. So I'm just asking for communication with the part that is the yes and receiving that. And then the first image that I saw, it reminded me of that Dolly Parton song about the Joseph and the amazing Technicolor coat or something. And that Technicolor coat was like spinning and opening up. So imagine that you're in this multicolored, really amazing Technicolor coat and you're spinning around and all the world is at your heart. So imagine like the rings of Saturn at around your heart space, radiating out, is this kind of smorgasbord or buffet of stuff that you have access to that's in your heart and that is radiating out from you. And then the spinning kind of stops and the cake comes around and in circles, if you will, all of that variety of experiences, things in your field, and then it's kind of like inside of you, not being shared with the rest of the world. And now your soul is showing me that your cape is closed and you're taking a walk. And you're looking around, and we're outside as this walk is going on. And you're looking at the environment around you. It looks kind of like a park-like city street. We're on a path that's like a sidewalk. I saw street lights. It's kind of at that time of day where at dusk where the street lights start popping on and you can see into the houses because they're turning their lights on. And so you have all of this inside of you and you're walking down the street and you're looking on both sides of the street, looking into the houses that turn their lights on, looking into the houses that don't turn their lights on, kind of contemplating who turns their light on, who doesn't turn their light on. What are the people doing in the houses that have their lights on where you can see them? Who's in there? What are they doing? And then, but you're asking the same questions about the people who don't have their lights on in their house and you can't see in. Well, I wonder who's in there and I wonder what they're doing or where are they? Are they there? Are they not there? What's going on with them? And so as all these questions come pouring out as we're walking down the street, I saw the word curiosity, this curiosity. What I do notice is the curiosity is directed outside of you. So there's this curiosity about what's going on outside of you. And as we walk down the street, I'm not really noticing any inward looking. We're looking at what's going on around us and what questions there are there. And then it's like, as I said that, Amber lifted up her Technicolor dream coat and kind of looked inside to see if it was all is everything that I am, or all my experiences, wisdom, knowledge, my smorgasbord, my buffet of who I am, is it all still there? Has any of it changed because of my walk down the street? And then there's a confidence of a contentedness, a comfort in knowing that it's all still there and it's grown. It's actually increased, expanded from this walk down the street, this journey by yourself down this pathway where you were observing and asking all these questions. Even though you didn't engage with anyone, there was an expansion that occurred in your cadre of what's at your fingertips and in your heart. And now your soul is showing that not only does your cape work, your magic dream coat work one way, you can literally take it off and it's reversible. There's a whole nother series of colors. Like the first time, the colors were more royal colors, like royal blue, royal red, royal orange, these really rich and deep colors. And then when you turn your cape or inside out, it's still a Technicolor dream coat, but the colors are softer. They're more crystalline. They remind me of fabrics I've seen that are from India, where they're maybe orange, but they also look gold and green because the way the fabric is woven with this multicoloredness. So they're really magical and kind of sparkly. And with that side of your coat off, you change. You are more lighthearted and bouncy. There's more like a skip in your step. And now it's like, now you take the coat off and you don't even want to have the coat on, and you start to fly. You actually, it reminds me of Tinkerbell, you just kind of flew to the top of one of the street lights. And you're looking around from a whole different part of the self. What it feels in my body is very much like air, very much like kind of Tinkerbell with this lighthearted lightness and humor. And I don't feel weighted down anymore. I don't feel, I feel transparent. And I feel like there is infinite possibility. Like I don't have to be just on the street. I can go up to the stars. I can go 3 sheets over. I can go to another town. I can look from like an eagle. I can light on a flower. I don't have the constriction, and I didn't feel constricted when I was wearing the Technicolor coat. It felt really magical, but this feels even more free, if you will. And your soul is saying, what do you want to choose? What do you want to choose? And also it's saying that it's okay to change your mind, to pivot, to choose one thing and then to try out something else. That just because you try one thing doesn't tie you to that for life. That you have so much in you, so much capacity, so much curiosity that pivoting actually, flexibility actually brings lightheartedness, and change sows the seeds of expansion. And so your soul is saying to allow yourself to play and to not dig. It says, don't dig a trench, and plant yourself in it for life. In the way it was saying that, and was showing me pictures of, like, it's a self-dug trench. Like you dug this trench yourself, you still have the shovel in your hand, and you take that shovel and you cover up your feet almost like planting roots. And then you have all the world that you planted this amazing garden, but you also planted yourself, and you can't go experience the garden. And it feels like your life cycle, just like any garden is going to, you plant, it grows, and then it dies, and then you pick the fruit and cultivate into the soil everything that grew. And your soul is saying, don't bury yourself in your own creation. Pivoting is not only possible, you're capable of it, and change is delight. Curiosity is the delight. Flexibility is delight. And your soul says, delight yourself. Have some fun.
I feel like everybody who was watching, I think there's something in us for each one of us. And I think it has to do with like embodying our truth. And that 46.5 that was in the attraction sphere, that says it's about embodying our truth. And that's going to take, that can mean taking different direction or choosing differently, or so it feels like really almost like it's a message to humanity, because there might be things for many of us that don't work anymore that worked before. So I feel like it was a little bit of message to everybody. How do you feel?
I love that. And again, I'm always so present with whatever soul I'm speaking to, that I'm paying attention with every, with my multisensory perception. So as you say that, it is kind of a delight to hear it. It feels so encouraging, right? I mean, yeah. I love the idea of not trenching myself in and allowing myself to pivot. I also thought it was interesting because I have the 6364 too as my purpose and radiance, but line 6. So in a sense, Amber and I are at the different parts of the line structure. So I was super excited to see what her soul would say. It's kind of interesting to experience it.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be super generous because I did pull up a third chart, and I feel like if I hadn't pulled up this third chart, like it feels like it's just right to do it because it was chosen. So we might not go as long, but it feels like this was supposed to be part of it. So, and we have done two women, so I want to do a man as well. So here we have Antonio, and this is the cross of healing. And there is something that I see in this chart as a 5-1, because we said you come with practical solutions for a lot of people. I don't feel like you're a hands-on healer. You might have that ability, but as a 5-1, we know that you're going to touch the masses. So your healing has some other medium that can be through the computer, through television. It's a bigger, it's more spread. But still, you have this, and you have the delight that Simone was speaking about. It's your personality earth on this side. So there is a lot of that delight. You need to be in your ecstatic energy in order to be able to create and to feel. And the same thing, we have the shadow of constriction in the 25. So if you feel constricted and if you're not in your truth and your power as a 5th line, your life can feel very serious, can feel very constricted. And then on the other side, you're going to feel stress in your body, you're going to feel dissatisfaction, and you're going to feel very lonely. So it's very important for you to look at how to create those circumstances for yourself. And I would say there's something with you, I don't know what it is, it kind of feels like you're a kind of warrior. Maybe you came from somewhere that wasn't really where it was feeling like you were from. I don't know why I'm getting this from. But there you have the 58 in your Neptune. It's like your true self was veiled for you in Neptune, and it's also your soul sun, or your design sun. So there's almost like there was this dissatisfaction in the first line, kind of where you came from. But it's like you are here to take off the veil and to become this healer in a way that is healing the world in a way that is not just hands-on, one person at a time. And I feel like it's important for you to not feel like you're going to save the world, although that might be what you do through your universal love for being here, through your ecstasy, through your vitality. But it's not that you are going to feel like you have that responsibility. You're actually you don't have your sacral center filled in. You are a projector. So it's important that you are not doing what you do in the world because you want to fix, like you kind of obsessively want to fix something. You can't, when people's life force is off, you kind of feel like you don't need to fix that. Or when people are stressed, you need to fix that. Or that you can't manage to feel all the emotional turmoil that's going on. And that what you're doing, like that you are not doing it from your truth, but out of not having to feel all the dissonance that are in people. That would be something that could drain you completely and could make you feel like you're not valued, because it's almost like you're just kind of padding holes instead of like living that powerful leadership that is grounded in your vitality, it's grounded in your stillness. You have a stillness that other people don't have. And I think, I don't know what your background is, but there's something, like I say, it doesn't look like it's been so easy. And that's your groundedness. And that's where you can radiate in the world. And I want to just kind of, I actually see, so vocation and core wound are the same thing. Here we have dishonor and guilt. So there is something in your lineage. There is something that is there for you that you are here to resolve in this lifetime that has to do with dishonor and guilt, and that you are here to powerfully resolve. And probably it's going to take forgiveness. And this can be forgiveness for things that have happened in your own life, or forgiveness that have happened in your lineage, or even like parallel or past lifetimes, depending on how you're seeing. And when you learn, like when you forgive that, that's when you get your vitality back. That's when you get your inner stillness back. That's when you dare. This is my pearl, actually. This is a daredevil, the playful daredevil. This is when you dare to jump again, to believe that this world, that is worth jumping, that is worth living your dream, that's worth to speak, even if some people might say you're a freak. You are probably going to have this kind of powerful thing. Some people think you're a genius, some people think you're a freak. But it's really important for you to find your way with your intuition. No, this is Amber. Where are you? Okay, to find your way with your intuition. And you have this same channel as Amber, where when you are in your intuition, when you find the right people, that's really so important. Your crowd, your people, they might be veiled when you're a child, but they are here to be shown to you. And that's when your message can get through to the world. That's when your message of healing, and maybe it's a mental healing, I don't know, because you're 5-1, and remember that's a mental line. There's something powerful here. When you stay in your intuition, you stay in your direction, you stay in the way that you shock the world with something new. I feel like you're doing something completely new. And then you make sure that you are around people that can value your insights, that can value your voice, because otherwise they might say that you're a freak. And then it's like, again, then you go into the stress and dissatisfaction, the loneliness. So really important for you to choose your allies, to choose your team, and to not heal the world one by one, but to actually do it, to look like bigger. And just take time alone as well, and make sure that your vitality and your inner stillness is there before you go out and be a leader. It's to have that balance as a 5-1. So yeah, I think that's what I see for this chart. And I would love to hear you, Simone, what you feel.
Let's see what Antonio Soul has to say. The first thing Antonio's soul says is, don't rush me. There is a way to go about things, a way to move forward. And he says that rushing is not the way. And he said the word thoughtfulness. And he says this is not about entrenchment. It's about a careful progress. And he showed me in front of Antonio kind of like a sacred geometry. And Antonio is standing and looking at the sacred geometry. And it's to carefully consider that geometry and decide where to step through. And that his soul looked at me and goes, "Did you get it?" And I think I got what he's saying. He's nodding and he's laughing. It's not only that there's a careful stepping through, it's just that where he places his energy in that sacred geometry makes that sacred geometry become multidimensional. So he's adding his energy in a real strategic way to certain places in this geometry. And that takes strategy, thoughtfulness, careful consideration, and the delight in moving through that sacred geometry and, in a sense, cracking the code the first time through. That's like the pièce de résistance. So it's worth the careful consideration, because the payoff of, in a sense, cracking the code is the ultimate reward, the ultimate payoff. And his soul is saying, do you feel in your heart the alchemical process that comes from the careful consideration, the strategic move through, and the success? It's like all of those things come together and create this multi-dimensional tone, third tone within the body. And then it's exponential, right? Because then the next sacred geometry, it's not just one. He's showing me like layers of sacred geometry. And with the experience of moving through one sacred geometry, then you can go exponentially and move through layers of sacred geometry through careful consideration. That as you go through these patterns, you're developing skill in communication. In he shows me that when you stand, Antonio, in front of the sacred geometry in front of you, you can feel in your body the magnetic pull of where the next movement is. It's not just where you place it, but it's also the pattern that you place in the sacred geometry with the way your body moves through. So it's the benefit or the vibrational change, the expansion is not only multidimensional, it's so expansive for you. So so much to be gained from that careful consideration of the movement through. I feel like I've learned about sacred geometry by listening to and communicating with your soul. What a beautiful image for all of us to think about our lives and our pathways through our lives as sacred geometry. And when we, place ourselves in the spot and the trajectory through and how that builds, it's just really kind of stunning and beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like if you have a 5-1 in your life, maybe share this video, or at least the beginning. I feel too, though, in the 3 chart interpretations, there are themes that I feel are important for, like, we really look at these charts through the lens of the profile being a 5-1. That's why they are completely different than if it would be a 1-3 or a 4-2-4. So there is something powerful in, like, kind of the life theme. And I feel like this impact, like kind of not. I mean, I felt like the power of these readings, even the soul communication that came through. It's not kind of like a little advice. It kind of feels like it's the whole life, and it's like when I was saying too, it can either be kind of a life in vain or a life that is like so much in leadership, and it kind of feels like I feel it on my skin. You know how it came through in your tuning in, Simone, for today. And I mean, I think we have been going on for an hour and 10 minutes, so there's a lot of richness, and also it's hard for us to do this on the surface, because Simone and I, I think I can speak for both of us. We are both like going, our perspective as for sisters, so we go so far out, but we also love to zoom in and to be able to have those nuances. So to do mini readings, it's kind of really hard for us. Or what would you say, Simone?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm so present with the soul that I want to, for me, and I know you know this about me, I'm not, but, and timelessness is my life's work. So I'm not ever thinking about time when I'm doing this. I'm so connected with the soul. And if the soul wants to say something, I'm going to bring that message through. So, I feel like I shorted Antonio's soul. That it is right there. So let me just make sure that see if there's anything else that he wanted to bring through for Antonio. He's talking about lightheartedness. That careful consideration does not eliminate lightheartedness, and the joyful choosing is part of the movement through the sacred geometry. That he says it's not all seriousness, that you can, he flashed me from the sacred geometry in front of Antonio to a hopscotch chart, that you can move through the geometry ahead of you with joyfulness and lightheartedness. And he says that was the most important thing that he wanted to include for Antonio, to not forget his lightheartedness and joyfulness. And that some of his careful consideration doesn't mean you won't skip through, because once you have the code, you have the code, and careful consideration does not eliminate lightheartedness or the joyfulness of being able to crack the code, or the joyfulness of the challenge ahead, and to not forget his lightheartedness, to include that in his heart when he's standing in front of whatever sacred geometry it is that he's considering. So investigate it.
Thank you. And I guess I also just want to say, if you wanna dive into your own blueprint with me and Simone, I'm going to post the link to the Soul Blueprint readings, and I'm going to post another link if you kind of just want more like a mini reading as well. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to all the charts that were posted, but I do really feel like if you're a 5-1, if you watch this, even if we weren't looking at your chart, there are like those nuggets. And maybe if you decide to do a personal reading, it's already like you kind of you've seen the big picture of being a leader that is really grounded on this earth plane, which is the 5-1. So I feel like it's exciting for all 5-1s to actually tap into what came through today.
Thanks for participating, and thanks for including me.
Thank you, everybody. Let me just post the comment, and also, I actually, before I end the broadcast, I'm just going to say that Simone and I are going to be on Unlock Your Design page, and we are going to tap into Gene Key 14, which is the gene key that the sun is in right now. So if you haven't got enough of us and you want to be with us at least for another 30 minutes, like in 5 minutes from now, you're going to see us on Unlock Your Design Facebook page, and we're going to tap into this energy, and you can ask questions and interact with us. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Simone.
Bye. Bye-bye.